Now, who is Judy Shelton? She was Trump's nominee to run the Fed in 2016. Due to partisan politics, shockingly, she wasn't confirmed, but she is one of the most brilliant people I've ever talked to in my life. Fascinatingly brilliant. And she is all over X. She has a book called Good as Gold. It is best-selling. And she said to me and Michelle and all over X, she said, Andy, in no uncertain terms, when I was part of Trump's transition team as his advisor, he said to me that on July 4th, 2026, which will be the biggest day of his presidency, the 250th anniversary, he will reintroduce sound money to the world by backing the back end of the bond market with gold, starting with the 50-year treasury, ultimately doing 5, 10, 20, 30, and 50-year treasuries, redeemable in gold with the 5, 10, 20, and 30 zero interest. The 50 maybe 1%. Redeemability in gold. That's interesting. Let's think about that for a second. So no interest.
So she's saying that that's what he's going to do.
That's what she is saying. I'm not saying it's me. She's saying it. Go watch her on X. You'll see that. So if that's the case, right? Let's play that out for a minute. So if I were to sell a $20 million bond, someone takes the other end of it. First of all, there's zero upfront borrowing costs. I get the 20 million, right? They buy the bond. I owe it, or whatever the bond costs. I owe it in gold at the end. Whatever, there would be a discount there, but I get the money up front for the bond sale. They get the return in the end in gold. Now, the sillier I am with my fiscal and monetary policy, the higher the price of gold goes, right? So here's how it works. You have zero upfront borrowing costs to bring back manufacturing. You bring back manufacturing at zero upfront borrowing costs. You owe gold at the end, right? So that's interesting. That sounds good. But what does that do? So right now, let's just say gold's 5,000 an ounce. I know it's come off a bit. That would be 4,000 ounces. The Van Eck Group, Van Eck Funds, their mutual fund company, they came out and said, their emerging market bond team said, there's reason to think that the dollar could lose reserve status. If it did, we see gold going as high as 139,000 an ounce. They said it, not me. Divide that into 20 million, that's about 110 ounces. So let's play this out. We soft default on the reserve status to bring back manufacturing, or our kids or our grandchildren are dead. If we don't do this, we're done. We're broke, we're insolvent, we're uneducated, we make nothing, and wickedly in debt. Okay, what do? Well, we need to put people back to work making things again. Okay, so Triffin's dilemma says you can't do it. The reserve currency, the dollar is too high, so we quietly soft default on the dollar by letting gold go higher and higher and higher and higher, and the dollar goes lower and lower and lower and lower. The dollar is being devalued. And how do you get gold higher? Every time money moves anywhere, the interest, I don't care if it's issued by American Express or Bank of America or Tether, that has to go into treasuries. That the treasury yield is not transferable. If they continue to buy gold, pushing the price of gold to the moon, well, your dollar just got massively devalued, so you have a chance to sell things to the world. That's what they've all done to us. And number two, well, what did Judy say? Now, here's where there's a little bit of connecting the dots. This is what I've done and have the courage or the stupidity to say. Well, is there any coincidence that Bo Hines is in there now? I mean, remember all the trouble that Tether was in? What happened to all that? Why don't we ever hear about the trouble that Tether's in anymore? What if they went to Tether and said, here's what you're going to do for us. You're going to accumulate all this gold with all of the interest that you get on the treasuries. You're going to buy gold. You are now the largest stockpile of gold in the world outside of central banks. You're going to keep doing it. Gold's going to go higher and higher and higher and higher. It's not going to be done by the U.S. government. It's too obvious, but you're going to do it for us. You're going to be the primary benefactor of the stablecoin bill, USA Tether, and you are going to continue to do this with the proceeds. And quietly, that gold will be sold to the U.S. Treasury over time. We're going to buy it from you. You're going to be richer than you can ever imagine. You guys and your future generations will never worry about a thing again. But that gold, and you're not in trouble anymore if you do this, you're going to buy our treasuries. You're going to take that interest. You're going to buy gold, and that gold will be sold to the U.S. Treasury. Because what did Judy say? Well, we got to back the back end of the bond market. So the first thing you would need to do is bring back the gold. Oh, that's right. We've been doing that for 16 straight months, and no one's asking who the hell is doing it. and where's it all going? Second thing you would need to do is create some vehicle to create synthetic demand for the front end of the Treasury and take that interest and buy gold. Oh, we did that with the Genius Act. And the Clarity Act says you can't transfer, so perfect. And then all that gold ends up in the Treasury. And if Van Eck Funds is right, and the dollar does lose reserve status, how do you get people to buy our bonds? They're not going to want our bonds redeemable in dollars that are getting killed. Redeemability in gold, held in an escrow account somewhere to validate it and to inspire confidence. But redeemability in gold, that's interesting. And if the price of gold keeps going up and up and up and up, what that means is the issuer who owns the gold, owes the gold at the end, would have to pay back way fewer ounces of gold at the end of the time period. So you bring back manufacturing at virtually no upfront borrowing costs and build new high-tech manufacturing facilities with very low costs involved, sell these products into a wickedly devalued dollar to the globe, around the world, or to the United States. And if you're going to be more mercantile, but at affordable prices. And the only negative byproduct I can see of doing that is you'll have universal basic income for a while, because the shelves will be more bare, and the cost of goods will be more expensive until we're able to, we're used to going to Walmart and getting stuff cheap, but that is because the world took our dollars for everything and then took those dollar reserves and put them in treasuries, which lowered interest rates, which kept our asset prices high, the goods we buy at Walmart cheap, and it was a great deal. We felt rich. Our 401k, our home, low interest rates, high asset prices, cheap goods. Well, that's going to change, and it has to change, because if it doesn't change, you will have a situation where there are very, 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 very wealthy people, the people who run businesses and are way more efficient as everyone else gets fired, and AI runs a lot of the stuff that used to be done by humans. And your kids are going to have no shot at the American dream, or we go back to our roots and we bring back manufacturing and shed the reserve status. Now, one last piece to all this, if you look around the globe, all you continue to hear is all of these countries trading their local currencies, not a currency, their own currencies, over Enbridge or SIPs, settling in balances in gold, the neutral asset. What would that do to all these countries? Well, it would strengthen their own monetary existence. Instead of strengthening ours, they have to keep their house in order. And they trade their currencies with each other. And if I don't want to hold your currency for whatever reason, then I will settle it in gold. And what are they doing with the Shanghai Metals Exchange? Putting metal exchanges all around the Belt Road Initiative, so that Saudi Arabia doesn't have to go to Hong Kong to get their gold, because remember, when gold leaves China, it comes out of Hong Kong. No, they'll have their own vault in Saudi Arabia, and everyone will sprinkle gold amongst these vaults, so that when we settle imbalances with all of our trading partners, it's done in gold. We trade our own local currencies, and we are not reliant upon the dollar or at the whim of the United States, who can sanction us, who can kick us out of SWIFT, who can inflate away their dollar, who can print money to create bonds and buy it themselves if the Federal Reserve. It's immoral. They're creating money to buy bonds, and we're supposed to hold those bonds and sell you our stuff for stuff you just push a button and create. We've lost trust. And a system that is no longer backed by gold is backed by trust. And if you lose trust, your girlfriend cheats on you, trust me, honey, it won't happen again. And then she's out till 3 a.m. the next night. Is there a problem? Do you trust? Or is that going back in your head again? What the hell is going on? How many people, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me 75 times, shame on me. How many times can the world believe that, that the dollar system, this hegemony, is a good thing, when we are proving to them that it might not be, through irresponsibility and sanctions and aggression? And you look at China, even their Shanghai Cooperation Organization, which is the largest regional financial and military organization on the planet. It is the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. You look at BRICS, it's all voluntary. There are no mandates they have to follow. You look at the way that their presidency goes. It rotates every year. Not one entity holds it. Cooperation. So could it be done by on purpose? You bet your ass it could be, because there is no other way. We can't tell the world we're defaulting on the reserve status. Instead, let's push them all away. Let's put tariffs on them. Let's go around and be aggressive. Let's do these things, make people say, what the hell? We don't want dollars anymore. Is that what they're trying to do, to create this event? Now, I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. All I do know is that if you're not a contrarian, I think you'll be a victim. And if you hold your wealth in dollars, you're going to go broke. I do believe that. So, whatever the rationale is, I will tell you that if you can think of a better way to bring back manufacturing, let me know. Because if we retain world reserve status, it won't work. And if you can think of a way that your kids will have a bright future in an environment where we don't make anything and we're wickedly broke, and population's getting older, and AI is here to really mess with things. How do we do that? We can't be reliant on these countries for everything from aspirin to aircraft parts. We can't.
So Andy, if you're listening to this, it sounds like the sky is falling, the world is ending. And so I think a lot of people default towards doomerism. We try to paint things in a positive light for the individual. What can the individual listening to this or watching this focus on to try to bring back some semblance of agency in their own life to try to make things better?
Well, look, dude, first and foremost, in reality, there is a very fine line between pessimism and realism. And the biggest mistake you can do is bury your head in the sand and not see it. I would rather see what's coming at me than be rolled by it. And, reality is reality. The truth is the truth. And so, yes, look, remember the Shawshank Redemption? Andy Dufresne had to crawl through 2 miles of shit to get to the other side. There is optimism, perhaps, at the other side, but to say that there isn't the reality of the consequence of being the largest debtor nation on the planet, and the whole system is based upon trust, and we've eroded the trust at every level, literally at every level, is a big mistake. So what do? You accumulate assets, first and foremost. There's something called the Cantillon effect, which basically says people closest to the money have a disproportionate benefit than everybody else. Why? Because they can buy assets, and their assets go up. And by the time the money filters down to people who don't have the wherewithal to buy assets, well, then it manifests itself in the higher price of everything. And that's why the rich get richer as this inflation and this stuff happens. They buy assets. Assets go higher.